Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 805, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Leadership Live at 805, Talking Small Business. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and thanks again for tuning in with us on Tuesday night. I'm in Washington, D.C., so you can probably hear a little bit of sound effects in the background. I spent some time, a full day at the conference here in D.C. by AEO, a business conference that was amazing. And so I'm broadcasting from here. As you know, this is, we've been doing this for over 5 years full time. And, to sometimes to not miss a session, I got to do the show from wherever I am. So just in advance, apologize for a little bit of noise in the background. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a great show. Have an amazing guest tonight. We're going to talk about my favorite topic, small business. As a business owner, your business can only go as far as you're prepared to take it. So as a result, it's important to continue to develop your business knowledge and your leadership skills. And the only way you can really do that, especially when you get stuck, is through help, through coaching, and finding the right coach and a good coach. And tonight's guest, Adam Roach, he develops great coaches, and really excited about having him on the show. Tonight's topic is making bold business decisions when the future is uncertain. I'd say probably in the last 2 years, the future has been more uncertain than ever. So this is a very timely topic, and I'm excited about having Adam on the show. So, hey, Adam, how are you doing tonight?
Andrew, I'm doing really well, my friend. I'm excited to be on here, and I got to give a shout out to you. For 5 years, you've been doing this, and you're not going to miss an 805 Live. I love it. I love your commitment to this.
Thank you. It's one of my favorite things I do every week. Get to meet great guests like you and get to talk about my favorite subject and share it with entrepreneurs and business owners who can benefit from it. So definitely appreciate the audience. Thanks for checking in. We always love your comments, your questions. Definitely. We have great guests from, great audience from all over. So if you want to let us know where you're tuning in from, feel free to put that in the chat as well. And, looking forward to get started. But before we get started, Adam and I know each other, but you don't know Adam at all. So, before you can really understand what he's talking about, you need to understand where he comes from and his journey. Every entrepreneur, business owner has a different journey. So Adam, if you could take a few minutes to walk us through your journey, that would be great.
Well, Andrew, where do you want me to start? You want me to start when I had hair? Because we can go all the way back there if you want me to. I mean, we can go all the way back. No, I'm kidding. The fun part about this journey has been that it's still a journey. It's going to always be a journey. I'm a native Hoosier from the state of Indiana. I grew up in Indianapolis. I went to Indiana University. I was a tennis player. I tried my hand at professional tennis, found out real quick, Andrew, that I was an American, not a European, and was getting my butt kicked all the time. And so I actually got into the tennis business. And so that tennis business was really a good catalyst for me to understand, well, real business at that time, right? And I didn't know anything other than how to play tennis and, well, graduate college. And so the neat part about that was I had nothing else to do. I literally started at the front desk making $7.25 an hour. My family was not happy back in Indiana, but I knew I had a goal, and the goal was to own my own tennis club in 10 years. Fast forward 4 years, I was the general manager. I had my hand in everything in that club, and within 5 years, they actually gave me equity in the company because I grew it. Same time frame, by the way, this is the late 90s, early 2000s. Same time frame, I started flipping real estate properties. I didn't know anything about real estate, but I had a client who was a lender in the early 2000s, and he said, "You should buy a house. I'll give you all the money." And that is how it goes. And sure enough, we called them stated loan programs, and we called them 100% financing. And the cool part was I started to learn real estate sales. Started flipping properties, started buying and investing in properties, and that got me into the real estate business. Fast forward from there, I sold my equity in the tennis business, and I started buying real estate franchises. At that time, I moved to Charleston, South Carolina, which is where I am right now. I'm looking at a beautiful sunset over the Charleston Peninsula as we speak right now. And so I got into buying real estate franchises, and I own 3 of them here in the Charleston area, southeast coast. And I also built a software company. And in 2019, my father had passed from Parkinson's related issues. And I'm going through this at a really high level, though I had an aha or an epiphany moment. And here's what that was. As I was speaking the eulogy, my father's eulogy, I looked out over the audience, and he was an Olympic swim coach. And I saw the impact he had had on so many people. I saw the impact that he had had on athletes. I saw the impact he had had on parents and other coaches. And he was a declarated coach. He was in the Hall of Fame. He had articles written about him. He was on magazine covers. And at that time, I was being coached, and still am to this day, by my mentor, John Maxwell. And he was right there with me, not at the funeral, but John was a dear friend who, gosh, he just poured into me at that time. And he said, "Adam, let me ask you a question. You've had a lot of great success, but I have to ask you the question of, have you had significance?" And I really had to pay attention to that different language, success versus significance, because you can have success and that can become a dead end road. Significance, though, is where you start to impact others at a higher level, start to really have a powerful impact on people, and you start to build what we call your legacy. And I looked over the audience, and I knew that my father had created that type of legacy, as there was 400 to 500 people there. And so I took a step back. We call it the beach chair moment now inside of my I Love Coaching community. And we called the beach chair moment for a reason, because I was sitting at the beach. And I'm a spiritual guy, so I was praying. I had my Bible with me. I had my journal with me, and I was mourning. I kept sunscreen on my bald head, and I kept hearing, surround yourself with better people. Surround yourself with different people. So I took that language, and I went to my pastor, and I said, "You always said if I think I'm hearing from God, I'm to lay it up on Scripture." And Andrew, I keep it right here on my wall. It's Proverbs 13:20. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. And I knew at that moment in time, I was to sell everything. I was to sell literally everything. So I did. I took a step back, and I took a step back, and I said, okay, where do I get to go have significance in a different lane? Exited successfully the franchises, kept the software business, and poured into those people. And that started the I Love Coaching community. I started building and learning. I was coaching in the past, but man, I was really learning how to coach coaches. I was learning how to build systems. I was learning how to build what we call processes. And now fast forward to 2026, 7 years later, and we've been blessed to be on 4 continents. 4 continents of serving coaches to help coaches impact other people and live in that place of not only success, but significance. And that's our vision statement, Andrew, is to empower coaches, right? Not just me, but the entire community of coaches, to empower coaches to change and serve 100 million people using what we call our real coach method. And REAL is an acronym. John helped me create this acronym. It's not an arrogant term of real coach. It is a methodology that I believe in 100% because every coach should be a real coach. And that is relevant, experiential, authentic leaders. We believe that every coach should be a real coach. And today we have an amazing community that serves these real coaches all around the world. And we're just blessed to do it. So that's who I am. That's my journey.
Excellent. So once again, every business owner has a journey. Every journey has its own twists and turns. But the great thing is that every twist and turn, you learn something that is going to benefit you later in the journey. And at the most painful twists and turns, you usually learn the most, and it benefits you the most as you go forward. So, as a business owner, you tend to have really high highs and really low lows. So just, during those lows, just understand it's just preparing you for success. I always like the speaker, Willie Jolly, because he would say a setback is just a setup for success. So as a business owner, you have to be resilient, and that's what it's all about. So definitely, your journey's great. I want to point out a few key things in the journey.
Sure.
A lot of people go into business without understanding the industry. And I think the fact that you got experience in the type of business that you wanted to have before you had it allowed you to have much greater success and avoid failure. So, definitely if you're not in business yet and you're thinking about it, the best thing you can do is get a job working in the industry you want to be in, because you'll learn so much and somebody's paying you to learn. How can you beat that? And then when you do it, you'll be that much better. And if you're lucky, you might even be able to buy the business you worked for. And that's even, that's the extra bonus. So definitely that part of the journey is key. Definitely success is great, but success alone isn't really enough. So becoming significant and leaving a legacy is key. Once you've had a certain level of success. So applaud you for that. I think I'm at that stage in the journey. I think I'm a little older than you, but but definitely, leaving a legacy, leaving an impact. And coaching is one of the best ways to do it, even if you're just coaching individuals. I've been coaching for 17 plus years. I've worked with over 1,000 business owners one-on-one.
Wow.
But, that's pretty significant. But, you've been preparing and training coaches, and, you've got hundreds of coaches that, can even have a greater impact because, they only have to do, 10 people and as many people as I've coached over 17 years can benefit. So, I think definitely, what you're doing is extremely significant. So I definitely do look forward to digging into this, because I think coaching is important, but also coaches need to understand how to coach, but also you people as a business owner, you need to understand how to work with a coach, because, that combination is what makes coaching successful for you. So before we dig into that, we run the show through the Small Business Pro University. So this is one of our brain trust initiatives that we provide for entrepreneurs and business owners, but it's not the only thing we do. So here's a short video about Small Business Pro University, and then I'll be back talking small business with Adam Roach. Many small businesses experience low or no revenue growth, and the owners are not making enough money. I founded Small Business Pro University to help you break that cycle by empowering you with greater knowledge and enhanced skills to lead your organization more effectively. Over the past 15 years, I've collaborated with organizations like the Small Business Development Center, Rising Tide Capital, Empower the Village, NJMEP, Rutgers University, and SCORE to work one-on-one with over 1,000 business owners and teach tens of thousands of people about business. My experience includes serving as a naval officer, managing businesses, graduating from MIT, earning an MBA from NYU, and achieving the CFA designation, which has prepared me to accomplish my mission of helping 1,000,008 business owners to sell more, maximize profit, and finance growth by 2028. My vision is to create the ultimate business ecosystem for entrepreneurs. Small Business Pro University empowers entrepreneurs like you to run their businesses more professionally and create sustainable enterprises. We employ my proven proprietary Masterpreneur Playbook framework to guide your journey along the Masterpreneur path and facilitate your Masterpreneur evolution to work on your business and scale faster and easier. Small Business Pro University provides access to valuable resources, partnerships, and relationships that will help you to sell more, maximize profit, and finance growth. Our Masterpreneur initiatives include the Small Business Pro Network, 100+ expert-led multimedia courses, intensive training workshops, Spanish language training, Leadership Live at 8:05 live stream and podcast, in-person Power Breakfast events, and advisory coaching, consulting, and training services. All right, welcome back. I'm here with Adam Roach, talking small business. Tonight's topic is making bold business moves, business decisions when the future is uncertain. So before we get started, I always like to define things because we want to make sure everybody's on the same page because everybody comes from a different perspective. So we're talking about coaching. So what is coaching to you? How do you define that?
Well, I mean, let's take a step back because coaching is such a broadly used word these days. And, you know, some people are coaches, some people are consultants, some people are trainers. But at the end of the day, it all comes back to leadership in my opinion, because leadership is a very crucial part to being a coach. Why is that? Because we know what leadership is influence, right? And as John Maxwell always preaches, everything rises and falls on influence. And so if we look at what is influence? Influence is just getting someone to take action. Now, there have been in history examples of bad people who are leaders. And then there are examples of great people who have been leaders. And I think at the end of the day, coaching has been around for a really long time, Andrew. And that action of understanding what specific problem solution cycle, everyone has their own unique problem solution cycle that they could coach, we'll use that word loosely, someone through that cycle from pain to pleasure, from problem to solution. So coaching can be disguised in many different ways. I have an soon to be 18-year-old and a 16-year-old son and daughter, and they're both in the tennis world. Now, dad didn't push them into that, though they just followed it naturally. And I have to be careful sometimes because I do like to coach them in that space, but I really like to stay dad. But as dad, I can still be an influencer, right? And that influencing can get them to take action. So coaching is such a broad word that what I like to do when people are coming into our community, and the community is just that, is the I Love Coaching world. No one works for me. No one works for Adam Roach. These are individuals that are part of a membership model that is the I Love Coaching community. And they all feel called to serve other people. And that's the best part, is if you're starting to go into the coaching space because you think this is easy and you think this is all about making money, or as I called it in the beginning, success, sure, you're going to go have success, but will you step into the REAL, relevant, experiential, authentic leader, coach approach, because the people that come into our community have a calling to help people. We know that Rory Vaden says it best. He says it best in this way: you are most powerfully positioned to serve the person who you used to be. And that can be a coach, right? A coach, when he or she knows his or her problem solution cycle from a macro standpoint and then broken down into a micro standpoint, they are most powerfully positioned to serve the person that they used to be. Now, the neat part about this is I get to watch coaches come in who have had massive success yesterday. And they step into this coaching space and they have huge imposter syndrome. Now, that imposter syndrome is created because they're attempting to be someone that they're not, and they're stepping away from a problem solution cycle and thinking that they have to step into these bigger shoes because now they have to have all the answers. Well, when you do that, you will start to build an inauthentic coaching business, and clients will see right through it. They'll smell right through that. But if you step into this coaching space and you, again, understand who you are serving, an avatar, your problem solution cycle, your process, and you understand if you want to do this from a one-to-one standpoint or a one-to-many standpoint, you can really step into a place of serving people. So that's what we look at as coaching is all of that language, and then we get to help them. And it's so fun. It's so rewarding. I haven't worked a day in the last 7 years because I get to serve coaches that go out and serve other people.
Okay, excellent. So, yeah, I mean, definitely it's all about influence. And, many people say there's really nothing new in business. Sure. What old is new and what's new was old. Because at the end of the day, it's about finding something that is valuable to someone, that someone's willing to pay more for it than it costs you to deliver it.
Right.
And if you just break business down to the essence, it doesn't need to be super complex.
Right.
So, definitely it's important to do that. I usually have business owners read 3 books that I work with, besides mine. But the first one is Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Beautiful.
As a coach, you need to influence, but as a business owner, you need to influence, because as a business owner, you have a solution for people, but you need to be able to influence them to understand it's the right solution for them.
Right.
And that's about leadership, which you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Having been a naval officer, I've seen really good leadership and really bad leadership. And there's lessons in both. So, definitely that's key. So now you mentioned your real coaching program, which I really like, in that, it's an acronym, but it's also a word. One of the things I created was Pray for Financing, which, of course, doesn't hurt to get on your knees and pray.
Agreed.
But it's prepare yourself in your business, research lenders and financing structures, assemble your documents, and then yield to underwriting process.
Beautiful.
So, but acronyms could be powerful because, it reinforces what you're saying, both in words and in letters. So now you talked about your coaching community, and how do you take someone from being a prior coach without the real method, or not even being a coach yet, and guide them into being a real coach? What are some of the things you need to do to influence them in the right way?
Great question, Andrew. And a fun one to answer. So again, I've been doing this in this space of serving coaches for basically the last 7 years. And when I first started this, I built this on my shoulders. I built this for me to build my own coaching business. one-on-one coaching, one-to-many coaching. There's a reason why I call it one-to-many versus group, and I'll share that here in a minute. And so as I built this, I love systems. There's an acronym. There's many acronyms, Andrew, as we know in this world, though. This acronym is a very good one for everyone to remember. Systems actually stands for save yourself time, energy, and money. I'll say it again. Save yourself time, energy, and money. Okay. So as I was building out my own coaching business, one-on-one coaching business, I got it to about what did we get it to? We got about $50,000 a month of recurring revenue. Great. Then I went into the one-to-many space, and that got pretty big too real fast, because that's fun. For me, that starts to build scale. But what I realized was that I had a process that I was building. And I didn't really realize the nuances that I was doing inside of there could actually turn into a scalable approach. And it wasn't until I had someone come knock on my door and said, "Hey, I want to coach with you." And I said, "Well, what do you want to coach?" And they said, "Well, we don't want to coach what you're coaching, but we want to do another way to coach. It's a different business model and a different business approach, but we want to coach this avatar and that. Can you teach us and show us how to do what you did in building the business?" And I thought, I've actually been writing this down. I've been doing this. And so that came into what we called the blueprint. So I established this real coach blueprint, and that was version 1 7 years ago. Now, Andrew, I'm holding in my hand 290 pages now of a version 8 of the blueprint. And I'm going to answer your question now. If a new person, or if a person who has not coached before is stepping into this space of coaching, this blueprint serves them. If you are a coach that has already established a monthly recurring revenue and an annual recurring revenue, this blueprint is for you. And here's why. It's only done in 4 phases. But the first phase let me rephrase that. The first phase is for a new coach and is for an existing coach. And phase 1 is what I call going inside to go outside. Because many of us, Andrew, come from a container or many containers. And what I mean by that is we come from this past version of ourselves. In my world, I had come from the real estate franchise ownership space. So when I got out of that container, I thought I had to coach those people because that's all I thought I knew. But what I had done is I'd established an identity in that last container. Many people who start to step into this coaching journey think that their identity is rooted where they came from. Their last container, their last job, their last wherever they just came from. And I'm going to tell you right now that that's wrong. That is wrong. You don't have to coach to that last container that you came from. Why is that? Because here it is. I'm nearly a 50-year-old man. I'll be 50 in February. And I've got many past experiences that I can pull from. Good, bad, ugly, successful, failure-based. And here's what we all have to remember. Not experienced or experienced. People don't care about you. They don't care about your process. They don't care about the parts. What do they care about, Andrew? They care about the payoff. That's all they care about. So when you can start to establish, number 1, who you are, and you can start to establish your own unique identity, there's 3 things that you have to remember when you're starting this. And all of this is in phase 1 of the blueprint. You have to understand what is the payoff of the avatar that you want to coach. Well, what's an avatar? An avatar is the individual that you are attracting into your business. So what is that payoff that you can get them to? Now, payoff doesn't always have to mean money. It can be time. It can be weight loss. It can be revenue. It can be net income. There's many things that a payoff can be, but you have to know what are you getting your client to, your avatar to. Okay, so payoff is number 1. Number 2P is what we call a premise. What is a premise? A premise is your belief. What is your unique belief in that space? You and I could coach in the exact same space, but I guarantee you our premise is going to be different. Andrew, you and I are in the coaching space together, right? But my vision and my worldly view on that space could be completely different than yours. So you have to identify your payoff. You have to identify your premise. And lastly, you have to identify your practice or your methodology or your steps. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't go inside first to go outside and identify who you are, you will attempt to be someone that you're not. So that's how we work with both a new coach and an experienced coach, but that's only phase 1 of 4 phases. The next phase is what we call phase 2. Phase 2 is the proximity play. Once you have an identity of who you are, once you have an identity of what you believe, once you have an identity of your practice or your methodology, and you understand who you're going to coach, we have you go find at least 10 of them within 90 days. And those 10 people you're going to coach one-on-one. One-on-one, because that is going to keep your lights on. Okay, that's the beginning of your business model. You're going to go get 10 one-on-one coaching clients, and you're going to keep the lights on. Now, we suggest that you start your one-on-one coaching at $1,500, but you can charge them whatever you want to. When you have 10 one-on-one coaching clients at $1,500 a month, that's $15,000, it's $180,000 a year. You should be able to keep your lights on and put food on the table. But here's the cool part about what you're doing in phase 2. Phase 2, you're now establishing the process. What's the process? Well, the process is your blueprint. The process is your A through Z. It is what you believe that will get someone from their problem to the payoff or the solution, and it's uniquely yours. So as you're establishing that in phase 2, now you can go into phase 3. Phase 3 is where you say, okay, I've had proximity one-on-one with people. Now I'm going to take that avatar and I'm going to find all those peers not of yours, peers of your avatar. Now, this blueprint contains many, many chapters. And here's where a lot of coaches will fail, is when they want to go into a one-to-many approach, or some people call it a group coaching space, they attempt to give that group coaching everything in their process. That's incorrect. Why? Because it's way too much. It's way too much. Only the one-on-one people get your entire book. The people in your one-to-many only get one chapter. Okay. So now as you're into phase 3 and you're building your one-to-many with the peers of your avatar, now you're only teaching them one chapter. That's your cohort. People will come to you and say, oh my gosh, I like that. I want what? More. If they want more, now you can establish them as one-on-one coaching clients, and you can increase your price because people already know what they're getting into and they just got a chapter, and yet they want the other chapters, right? So when they get to one-on-one, now they get the whole book. When they're one-to-many, they get one chapter. Well, Adam, how do I generate leads? Easy. Now you take your book, one-on-one gets the whole book, one-to-many get a chapter, and when you go out to market your business, those people either get one sentence or a paragraph, right? So for example, I am hosting a challenge, and I host these every single month, and I call it the Sellable Offer Challenge. That is a paragraph inside of my blueprint that I actually teach people who are not in my community. That's the outside world. Once I can teach them how to do that, now I can find the people who want more. That's phase 3. So what is phase 4 then? Phase 4 is what you do, is when you do what I'm doing right here, and you find amazing podcast hosts, or you go write a book. This book right behind me is a coach in our community, and my wife. She just wrote a USA Today best-selling book, number 14. Can't see it up there, but there is another coach in our community who wrote an international bestseller. Phase 4 is how do we now get you out to the masses and the stages. Stages are the highest trust building mechanism out there. Phase 4, we will teach you how to build a $1 million coaching business. So let me go back. Phase 2, 1-to-1, 180,000. Phase 3, now we're growing to 360,000 in a one-to-many approach. And phase 4, we are adding scale. We are adding exposure. We are adding now new audience members for them to see you. And now we help you build a $1 million coaching business. That's how we do it.
Excellent. So no, that's a great blueprint. I mean, I think that, first it's important to keep things simple. Nothing needs to be overly complex. And, really like how you were able to keep it simple, starting off with, really what should you coach and preparing yourself. At the end of the day, leadership, like Michael Jackson says, you got to look at the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
Chapter 5 of my first book is called, Is It Me or My Employees Crazy? Because, many business owners are like, man, my employees are driving me crazy. But nothing can happen in your business that you don't let happen.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it's really not them, it's you. So, you as a business owner, you got to own everything. So, starting internally, like you said, figuring out, what the payoff is, what the premise is, what the practice is of how you're going to do it. And I like how you have 4 steps because everything's a progression. Life is a progression, business is a progression. You don't go from step 1 to step 4. It really matters what you do, when you do it, and how you do it.
Yes.
And that's what a lot of business owners are missing.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of coaches are missing. At the end of the day, that's what the coach should be helping you with.
Yes.
Really looking at, I think, the proximity, I did some work in insurance and benefits, and like every week they have sales training. But the first thing they always said is, you eat chicken until you can eat steak. So, you start with one-on-one, you start with the basics and get that solidified before you try and hit home runs. Yep. So, I think definitely, and that's where you develop your craft. Initially, you're not as good as you could be. That's the time for you to develop and really become great.
Yes.
And it takes time. That's not something that happens overnight. Some people, it happens faster than others, but it's a necessary phase. And also you need a process. Because once you have a process, it's a lot easier for you to work with people and get better results. So, developing your process, and it should be your own, and then, peers, you want to expand your marketing. Nothing's better than having success that shares the success that they've had, because that makes it so much easier to get people to be willing to give you a try. Really being able to do that. But I really like how you identify that. Don't give out everything. No. Give this much for this much for that, and this much for that. So that it's kind of like a funnel, but I hate to say funnel because it kind of,
well, I'll tell you what I believe there is. I believe you actually should give away everything, right?
Okay.
Go ahead and give away everything. And here's why I believe that is that will establish the know-how, right? That will establish that Andrew knows how to do this. But here's what we know is I could give you all this blueprint right here. I have it digitally. I have it in my hands. And at the same time, I could give it to you. But the question is, do you know how to use it? Do you know how to do it? Most people these days, Andrew, will take this and they'll go throw it into an AI bot, a GPT or a Claude or a Gronk or something, and they'll come back and they'll have what they believe is a good business approach. They'll believe that they have something, but they haven't internalized it. They just have answers. And those are the people who will not build a sustainable coaching business. So I do believe to give everything away in a know-how standpoint, enough so that when people understand that you know how to do this, they'll come back and say, hey, I need you to show me how to implement, right? If you go to I Love Coaching Co. right now, you will see it says a button that says start here. And all that is a free guide that we give away. It says get paid to coach. That's it, right? That's all it is. And it's very powerful, right? It is a very, very powerful thing. And it'll walk them through defining their avatar, defining their problem solution cycle, defining, well, is it still in there? I don't know if it's still in there. We used to have this equation on creating your own identity. And it is deep, deep work, Andrew. It is deep work. We take you through what we call the wound, which is then the lie that you create about yourself. Then the vow that you tell yourself, I'm going to overcome this lie, VOW, vow. And Andrew, we all know this next one to be true. So wound plus lie plus vow equals your pose, P-O-S-E. We all have this pose. And if you go take my blueprint and if you go throw it into your GPT bot, it's going to come back and tell you, you should coach this, you should do this, you should do this. But that's a pose because that's not authentic. Right? That's not really you. And so you've got to identify who you really are. So going back to your material, when you understand your process, I want you to use your process as free, valuable stuff. You can go to my YouTube right now, Adam Roach, and you can see inside of my YouTube the value that I give to people every single Monday. We have an I Love Coaching podcast. All of that is value. It's everything from the blueprint. Though you will need our help, the community support to understand how to. And that's why people come to us, and that's why people stay with us.
Okay, excellent. So definitely, that's critical. You can probably hear the vacuum cleaner behind me. So I'm going to ask another quick. Actually, we have some questions in the chat. So why don't we go to one of those? So let's start with, okay. How do you manage fear when making decisions?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, here's what we have to understand. How do you manage fear? Let's define what fear is first. My opinion of fear is if I'm walking through the woods and it's pitch black outside and I don't have a flashlight and I can't see in front of my face, that's scary, right? That's real fear. The fear of making a high-stake decision has to be, and I'll just go back to my own experience. When I was teaching tennis in Beverly Hills, when I was owning a tennis club in Beverly Hills, something there was an itch that I had for something on the other side. Didn't know what it was. And that probably came in about years 7, 8, or 9. I have about a 10-year cycle. And there was an itch. And that itch was calling me into the real estate franchise world. So how did I manage the fear there? I actually had a board of advisors. First and foremost is these were people that I trusted that were not in my spaces, right? So they weren't in the tennis business. They weren't in the real estate business. These were advisors that I trusted with me sharing the thoughts or the itch, if you will, that I was having, and they would give me feedback. Though I've always been someone that I start with faith first, right? So how do I manage a fear? I'm a prayer. I pray first. I go to my board of advisors. I lean into people who can see it from a 50,000 foot view versus me being just in it, right? Because here's what we see. We see all that's around us. We see maybe the loss of income. We see, gosh, do I really want to leave this success that is actually self-doubt, right? Self-doubt is manageable. That's not fear, but we will call it fear. So what would I do to manage fear in a high-stake decision? Number one, Adam Roach here, I'm going to pray. Number two, I'm going to surround myself with advisors who I can lean into, and then I will make the calculated decision, as John Maxwell says, to jump the fence. When I sold all of my franchises, it was because of my beach chair moment. It was because I felt that there was something that was calling me to a higher level of significance. I was done chasing success. I knew it in my heart. I felt it in my gut that container was done. I was done with that container in my life. Was it great? It was very lucrative, very successful. But there was something else that was calling me over here. There was something else that was calling me. Prayed about it. I got the scripture. I went to my pastor. I went to my board of advisors, and I took the leap, right? I took the leap. I jumped the fence, and I haven't looked back yet. So that's how I would handle fear, is first identifying what really is fear. Fear is just, well, the unknown. And when you don't know, we create these stories in our head. I'll give you an example. It's called the story model. So if you can see a clock, right? You've got 12 o'clock at the north, right? The very top. That 12 o'clock is something happens. Okay. So this happens. This is happening right now as you're listening to me. Something happens. At 2 o'clock, we react to that. I've told some stuff here. Something happened. You reacted to what I said. At 4 o'clock, we created judgment. Everyone does it. Is it good? Is it bad? It doesn't matter. It happens, right? You judge. At 6 o'clock is where we have to really pay attention. 6 o'clock is when we start to create a story around something happening that we reacted to, that we judge. We start to tell ourselves a story. Now, if we lean so much into that story and believe that, we'll call it fear for the sake of the question, fear to be true, we will go to 8 o'clock. And the 8 o'clock is we seek evidence to the story. And as we seek evidence to that story, we will start to make ourselves believe whatever it is fear is, and will probably stop us. Because then at 10 o'clock, we will seek a new future. And that new future says, no, I'm going to push off that calling. I'm going to push off that itch because it's too scary. Or the flip side, I'm actually going to jump the fence and I'm going to go do it. So we'll go back to the top. 12 o'clock, something happens. 2 o'clock, we react to it. 4 o'clock, there is judgment. 6 o'clock, a story is created. 8 o'clock, we seek evidence to the story. And at 10 o'clock, a new future is created. So if you wrote all that down, now I want you to put an infinity symbol around 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, because this happens all day, every day. I know that was a long-winded answer to answer the question of fear, decision-making, and high success, but that's what I would do.
Excellent. No, I think that, what you said makes a lot of sense. And actually, you kind of answered the next question from Mario. So his question is, how do you decide when to pivot a business during uncertainty?
Yeah. So when to decide when to pivot a business during uncertainty, well, we have to take what is uncertain, right? So I can go back to my real estate days. The real estate market is a volatile place. I mean, I was part of the real estate world when it crashed. Was the next thing uncertain? Yeah, it really, really was. So I had to decide, what did I want to do? And I was in the real estate world at the time as a flipper, as an investor, as a sales agent, actually. This is probably not the best story to tell. But instead of deciding to say, okay, the world is ending in the real estate world, which it totally was, I had one of my last flip properties I paid $715 for. I had it on the market for $815. Like 3 weeks later, we always won, right? And the bottom fell out, and I lost about $90,000 on that property. Wrote the check because that was before foreclosures and walking away was cool. I had a lot of friends who did that. And that house, though, like 2 years later, 3 years later, I think I sold it for like 6 and some change, was worth $200,000. So I should have got out of the real estate world, but I got into franchise ownership because I wanted to go get a lot of people to do many things and have it all come back to the top. So how do you decide when to pivot a business during uncertainty? You've got to look at all the risk and reward. You've got to look at what are the controllables? What can you control? Because as I got out of the real estate investing, the real estate flipping, the real estate sales space, I was investing in myself to own a franchise that I could then lead and empower other agents to go do the work of the real estate sales. So how did I decide to pivot? I bet on myself, right? Bet on yourself, understand what you can control, remove what you can't control, because a lot of people will try to control the uncontrollables, and always have a board of advisors and bet on yourself.
Great points. I mean, I think that definitely it can be scary, but also, it can make you want to make a decision before you should. Yeah. I spent 20 years investing in real estate, and I had I think I was like 30 some years old, and I had like 20 units in northern New Jersey.
Okay.
And my wife was complaining about me not being around, so I sold them all. And then I bought some property down in Florida, and then and had someone else managing it. And then 2007, 2008 came, which everything fell apart.
Everything
fell apart, and my property manager went bankrupt, and I still had these properties. So it was very painful, but I learned some major lessons. So, definitely, you're going to learn. But I think the other thing is, you mentioned that, when you pivoted, you didn't pivot into something else. It was part of your long-term vision.
Yeah.
You should always have a view of where you want to go and make decisions based on whether it's going to get you closer to or further from where you want to go. And, having advisors and others, that gives you the perspective to make sure what you're trying to do is the right thing. At the end of the day, it's your decision. So never just take what your advisor says,
right,
but take the lessons in it and consider where it's coming from.
Yes.
But ultimately, it's got to be your decision, because you got to own it.
That's right.
So, I think that's super powerful. So, the worst thing about this show is an hour is just not long enough.
This has flown by.
We've covered so many great things, and we're just getting started. But I think that, so many good things have been shared that, people have a lot to take away. But, given that, most people can only remember 3 things. So instead of just saying, take the hour show away, I'd like you to take a minute and think about, what are the 3 biggest takeaways that people should take away from the show tonight. So I'm going to play a video, and after the video, if you can share those 3, that would be great. Hi, Andrew here, and I'm excited to announce the launch of our new book, 99 Proven Tips to Accelerate Your Masterpreneur Journey. 5 years, 33 incredible guests, hundreds of powerful business lessons, and now it's all in one place. Introducing 99 Proven Tips to Accelerate Your Masterpreneur Journey, a brand new book built from the insights wisdom, and strategies shared by the guest experts of our podcast, Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Inside, you'll discover actionable tips on how to launch smarter.
So if you have an idea that you have researched and you know who your customer is and you think that you've got the experience you need, now is a perfect time to start a business. But remember, start as a side hustle first.
Grow faster.
So sales is about problem solving, not about manipulating. You have to understand the math of your business, the sales math.
Lead more effectively.
You shouldn't expect someone to be you. You know, you have to understand and create processes to basically train people on how to handle certain situations and basically set people on the right path, right? So they can become successful within your organization.
And scale your business with confidence.
Bet on yourself and not be afraid to take risks and to know that you have within you the ability to accomplish your dreams and accomplish your goals.
Think like an entrepreneur. Now, I know there may be many entrepreneurs listening, but there may be some who aren't entrepreneurs. That's all well and good. I'm here to say entrepreneurship is not just something you do, it's a way that you think. And the characteristics of an entrepreneur's thinking are creativity, resourcefulness, courage, resilience, and passion.
This isn't theory, it's practical advice straight from entrepreneurs and thought leaders who have done it. 5 years of conversations, 33 voices of experience, and now 99 tips to accelerate your masterpreneur journey. Get your copy today. Pre-order now to reserve your signed copy. Click the button below or scan the QR code to order from www.sbprou.com/99-tips. All right, welcome back. I'm here with Adam Roach, talking small business. Tonight's topic, we talked about basically making bold business decisions when the future is uncertain. So Adam, what are the 3 biggest takeaways that someone should receive from the message tonight so that they can take what they learned and start implementing it tomorrow?
Well, I think the very first thing people have to realize is who are they, right? What is their true identity? When you can step out of the pose that you are in, right? I can go back and I can share my example. My father being an Olympic swim coach, my father on magazine covers, my father in the Hall of Fame. The wound that established in me was, holy cow, my father got his validation from outside of the house or outside of the church. The lie that I told myself I was inadequate. The vow that I made to myself was, I'm going to win everything. I'm going to win. I'm going to be the best. And the pose was, I was a performance-driven dude. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not truly my identity, right? My identity is, I know the masculine heart has to have 3 things. The 3 things are an adventurer, a warrior, and a lover. And that's what I love to be, is those 3 things. Again, not this performance. So this first thing is, I would identify truly, who are you, right? Go inside to go outside. The second thing is, what are you building, right? And who are you building it for? Do you have clarity there? And what model are you following? You don't have to use my blueprint, but you probably should use a blueprint. You probably should use a process that is tried and true, that here it comes, that aligns with where you are looking to grow. Because, excuse me, if you don't, you're going to wind up buying junk. You're going to wind up buying something that emotionally pulled you in, and you didn't even really understand what you were buying, right? So that would be the second thing that I would do. And the third thing is, go find who's, right? Go find the right who's to surround yourself with. Just as my beach chair moment led me to selling everything to go find the right coaches to teach, to coach, to train, to build. Those are the who's, because remember, walk with the wise and become wise. Who are the who's that you can surround yourself that will propel you forward? Because you got to remember these three things about transformation. Number one, transformation starts with humility. What is humility? Show up a mess. It's okay. You're not perfect, and we know you're not perfect. Show up and share your mess. Number two, transformation. Transformation thrives in a community. Transformation thrives in a community because it's a like-minded group. Communities align together. We won't always get along, but hey, you can always be kind, right? Be in a space where transformation thrives, which is in a community. And lastly, transformation inspires transformation. So when you find the right who, when you find the right who's, when you find the right community, and you're showing up a mess and you watch other people have transformation, it will inspire you to have transformation. So those three things right there, Andrew, is what I would tell people to walk away with from this show.
Okay, excellent. So basically it always starts with the person in the mirror, you know, but you have to dig deep to figure out who you are.
Yes.
And generally that's not a journey that you can do by yourself.
No.
You know, you need some facilitation and feedback and support through that journey, but it's critical first step. You know, what you're going to do and who you're going to do it for. So having clarity of what you're going to do and a blueprint or a plan. Too many people don't have a business plan.
No.
And that's the number one thing you should have if you want to be successful. You need to know where you're going and what to expect and have milestones. Otherwise, you're just out there doing stuff.
Yes.
You know, I've worked with so many business owners, and there's always business owners who what they're trying to do will never get them the results they're trying to get. And I can see it, but they can't see it.
Right.
So, you don't want to be in that bucket. And having a business plan allows you to see it before you do it and assess whether that's going to get you the results that you want.
Right.
Then finally, who's, nobody's successful alone in business or in life. So, right. Who you surround yourself with, but also, they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So also understand that you continue to move forward and prepare yourself. And when you're ready, what you need is going to be there.
Yes.
Not when you think you're ready, but when you're really ready. And that's not up to you. So, this has been such a powerful show. I greatly appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight.
Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate being here. I appreciate you. I love what you are doing, what you've created. The value that you provide to people is second to none. And I'm just honored to be on here to serve your people. So thank you for having me.
Excellent. Thank you as well. To the audience, we do it for you. So we appreciate your comments. We appreciate your questions. We got Adam's LinkedIn in the chat, as well as his website, as well as a link to some other goodies that could be beneficial for you. So don't hesitate to take advantage of them. Adam, anything you want to share before we close out?
No, like I said, I just really appreciate you having me on here. For those that are interested in building a coaching business or building their coaching business to another level, you have Andrew that you can lean into. He's a who. You have me that you can lean into. And I would recommend that you come to my sellable offer challenge. Right? My sellable offer will show you how to build your own problem solution cycle. It'll show you who is your who, and it will actually show you how to build the attractiveness to bring people into your world. So just go to ilovecoachingco.com/challenge. So ilovecoachingco.com/challenge, and you'll see it right there. Love to have all of the people who are on here. Andrew, if that aligns with them, I would love to serve them.
Okay, well, definitely. I mean, the show's about sharing freely, And whoever wants to take you up on that, I encourage them to. So thank you for sharing that. If you can hang on for a minute, I'm going to close things out. And, just want to, once again, we had a great show. A lot of tremendous insight and knowledge was shared. Hopefully you got the most out of it, whether you're here live with us tonight or whether you're watching the replay. And, always, we've got, great things that we have going on. So a couple of things just to let you know about is we're doing the next cohort of our Small Business Pro certification program. So if you're a business owner or a future business owner and you want to learn how to work on your business instead of in it, and learn the key things that every business owner needs to know, but many business owners don't, definitely this is the program for you. The link's in there and it's on my website. So we're going to be starting in about a month. So you're welcome to join us. The other thing is save the date. We've got our Masterpreneur Growth Symposium that's going to be on July 31st. It's a full day event where we're going to focus on how to diagnose what's needed, strategize on how to address it, and scale your business. So if you're in New Jersey, definitely you don't want to miss it. Or if you're not in New Jersey, you should come up for the day and then spend the weekend and go to New York and hang out as well. So hopefully you can join us as well. Definitely next week, we're going to have a show that's different than any other show we've had. So hopefully you can join us. I'm not going to tell you what the show is, but I met a gentleman who's doing something pretty exciting and very beneficial for people, and something that entrepreneurs really need to hear about. So hopefully you can join us next week. And always remember, at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster and more successfully your business is going to grow.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 805, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.